Okay, so I want you to picture a scenario. You're at a really nice restaurant, maybe a wedding, somewhere people have really made an effort.
Mhm.
And you're just looking around, people
Uh-huh.
watching a bit. You're looking at the, let's say, the older crowd. And if you really, really pay attention, you start to notice something.
I think I know exactly where you're going with this.
There are two very, very different categories of people who are aging well.
It's the difference between looking expensive
Mm-hmm.
and looking, well, alive.
Yes, that is exactly it. So on one side, you've got the group that looks maintained.
Huh?
You can see the work.
Sure.
The forehead is smooth, maybe a little too smooth. The cheeks are high, they're full. But if you get a bit closer, the energy just feels older.
Right, it's almost like a perfectly preserved museum piece. Everything is in the right place, but it's static.
Static, that's the word. It's the done look. The geometry is perfect, but that internal spark, the vitality, it's just not there.
It's missing.
Exactly. But then you see the second group, and they're much rarer. They look timeless. They might have some wrinkles, they might not, but they just radiate this kind of biological hum. They look vibrant, not just preserved.
And that distinction is actually what we're digging into today. We're doing a deep dive into the whole philosophy of what's being called regenerative anti-aging.
Yeah, we're pulling specifically from the work of Dr. Corina Ianculovici and the Mirelle Institute for Anti-Aging Medicine. And I have to say, their central idea is it's a bit of a wake-up call.
It is. It's pretty confronting. The source material basically draws this hard line in the sand at age 45.
And it argues that the rules of the game just completely change the minute you hit that number.
Completely. The core argument is that before 45, aging is, it's largely an aesthetic problem. You see a line, you fill it, you see a spot, you zap it with a laser. Your body's still pretty forgiving.
But after 45...
After 45, the text argues that aging stops being just a cosmetic problem, and it becomes a biological failure.
Wow. Biological failure. That sounds pretty intense.
It is, and I think it's meant to be. But for me, this was the real aha moment in the research. The claim is that most people end up looking maintained instead of timeless because they're just chasing surface-level fixes.
The Botox, the fillers, the lasers.
All of it.
Right.
While completely ignoring what they call a failing cellular environment.
So it's that classic analogy, right? You're painting a house that has a crumbling foundation.
Precisely.
You can put a fresh coat of paint on every few months, but if the beams are rotting and the basement is flooded, the house is still going to fall down.
It's still going to lean.
Yeah.
So our mission today for this deep dive is to unpack what the Mirelle Institute calls the cellular strategy. We're going to look at how you shift the focus from that cosmetic camouflage to internal biological restoration.
Okay, so let's get into the weeds on that, because biological restoration sounds great in a brochure. But what is physically happening at age 45? Why is that the magic number where, the wheels start to wobble?
Well, it's less about magic and more about metabolism. The source outlines this really specific turning point.
Okay.
After 45, you're not just fighting gravity or sun damage anymore. You are hitting a cliff in what's called mitochondrial energy production.
Right. The powerhouse of the cell. I think I remember that from, 10th grade biology?
And it's funny, we all remember that phrase,
Yeah.
but we forget that it literally controls everything. Think of your mitochondria as these tiny little batteries inside every single cell in your body.
In your skin cells, your brain cells. All of them.
All of them. And the data shows that after 45, these batteries, they just stop holding a full charge. They become really inefficient.
So if my cellular battery is only charging to, let's say, 60%.
Then your body has to budget. It enters an energy crisis. It says, okay, we have limited power. Priority 1, keep the heart beating, keep the lungs breathing. Guess what gets cut from the budget first?
The non-essentials. The vanity projects. Skin repair, collagen production.
Exactly. Repairing DNA and keeping skin elastic is incredibly expensive, energetically speaking. So if the batteries are low, the body just stops funding those projects. And on top of that, hormonal signaling gets unstable, inflammation shoots up, and your metabolic efficiency just plummets.
So basically, the engine is running rough, the fuel isn't burning clean, and the exhaust, the inflammation is rusting out all the parts.
That is a perfect analogy. And this is exactly why the traditional med spa approach starts to fail for the over 45 crowd. The source specifically points out that you cannot fill or inject your way out of a body that has lost its regenerative communication.
Right, because if you pump filler into a face where the cells are literally starved for energy, you're just you're decorating a structure that can't even support itself.
And the text has this one line, this maxim that I think sums it all up perfectly. It says, youthful appearance is the outward expression of internal vitality.
So if you don't have the vitality on the inside, the appearance on the outside will always look, well, artificial.
Always look done.
Okay, I'm sold on the problem. The foundation is cracking, so how do we fix it? The source material brings up this protocol called the Lux Metabolic Reset. Now, I see the word metabolic and I immediately think, okay, this is a weight loss diet. Is this just about cutting carbs?
And that's a really common misconception. I mean, weight loss is often a side effect, sure, but the goal here is cellular efficiency. It's not just about a smaller waistline.
Okay.
The logic from Dr. Ianculovici is, it's brutal, but it's true. She says, if the cell can't produce energy, nothing else works. You can buy the $500 face cream, but if the cells in your skin don't have the ATP, the energy to actually use those ingredients, it's useless.
So this reset is really about prepping the body to even respond to other treatments.
Correct. It targets 4 specific silent killers of youth. Insulin resistance, hormonal disruption, inflammatory burden, and muscle loss. Let's just take insulin resistance for a second, because the source makes this fascinating link between blood sugar and wrinkles.
Yeah, I saw that they use the term glycation. I've heard it before, but I don't think I've ever really understood what it means for my skin. What is that exactly?
Think of it like caramelization. You know when you put sugar in a hot pan, how it gets all sticky and hard?
Sure, like the top of a creme brulee.
Exactly. Delicious, but crunchy. That is essentially what's happening to your collagen when your blood sugar is chronically high or unregulated.
You're kidding.
No. The sugar molecules literally bind to the protein fibers in your skin, your collagen and your elastin, and they make them brittle.
Yeah.
So instead of snapping back like a healthy rubber band when you smile or frown, they break.
Whoa. Okay, so you're saying sugar it's literally caramelizing my face from the inside out.
It's a visceral image, right, but it's accurate. And that's why this reset protocol targets insulin sensitivity first. By fixing the metabolism, you're not just dropping a dress size, you are stopping that caramelization process. You're keeping your collagen flexible.
It's like preparing the soil before you plant a garden. If the soil is toxic, it doesn't matter how expensive your seeds are.
That's it. If the internal environment is inflamed or, sugared, the flowers are not going to bloom. The metabolic reset is all about clearing the weeds and fertilizing the soil so that any aesthetic treatments you do later can actually take root.
Okay, so we've reset the metabolism, we've stopped the caramelization. Now let's talk about the tools for rebuilding. The source highlights 2 really specific things, NAD+ and peptides. Now, I feel like I'm seeing NAD+ owned on every wellness influencer's Instagram feed lately, but I still don't think I really get what it does.
It's confusing because it does so much. The simplest way to think of NAD+, that's nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, is as cellular currency.
Currency, you mean like actual cash?
Exactly like cash. Every single time your body wants to do anything, repair a strand of DNA, fire a neuron so you can remember a name, contract a muscle to lift something, it has to pay a toll.
Okay.
That toll is paid in NAD+ face and spit. It is the literal transaction medium for life.
And let me guess, just like in real life, we start running out of cash as we get older.
We go broke. The levels decline dramatically with age. I mean, some studies suggest you have half as much NAD+ at age 50 as you did at 20.
Wow.
And when you don't have enough currency, the body has to start making some very hard choices. It prioritizes survival over thriving.
So it keeps the lights on, but it stops doing maintenance on the roof.
Right. It stops worrying about skin elasticity. It stops keeping your brain sharp. And this is why the Mirelle Institute really emphasizes NAD+ injections.
But why injections? Why not just take a pill? I've seen a million supplements on Amazon that promise to boost NAD+A.
And this is a huge point of contention in the longevity world, but the source here is very firm on this. They prioritize injection protocols because of absorption.
Got it.
The argument is that the digestive system is just. It's a harsh environment. It breaks down a lot of the oral NAD+ precursors before they can ever get to your cells. By injecting it, you're making sure that cash is deposited directly into the bank account.
So you're bypassing the middleman, the stomach, and instantly funding all those repair projects that had been put on hold.
Yes, and patients report this mental clarity and energy almost immediately because all of a sudden, their brain and their muscles have the budget to function properly again.
Okay, so NAD+ is the cash.
Mm-hmm.
What are the peptides then?
If NAD+ is the money, then peptides are the managers. Or maybe a better analogy, they're the general contractors.
Okay, explain that one.
So you've got the money, the NAD plus Eve, and you've got the bricks and lumber, your protein. But who tells the workers what to actually build?
The general contractor.
That's the peptide. Peptides are these short chains of amino acids, and they act as signaling molecules. They carry very specific instructions. So one peptide might float by and say, burn this fat. Another one says, repair this tendon. Another one says, make more collagen here.
And let me guess. As we age, the managers all go on strike.
They go on a permanent vacation. The signals just get weaker and weaker. You might have all the materials you need to repair your skin, but the order never actually arrives at the job site. Peptide therapy is about reintroducing those specific instruction manuals back into the system.
The source mentioned this is really critical for body composition, right? Especially with muscle.
Huge. This is one of the biggest challenges of aging. Sarcopenia, the medical term for age-related muscle loss.
Right.
Usually when people try to lose weight after 45, they lose a ton of muscle right along with the fat.
Which ironically makes you look even older. It gives you that kind of skinny fat look where the skin just hangs because there's no muscle underneath to hold it up.
Exactly. But the source discusses how a strategic prescription of specific peptides can tell the body, burn the fat stores, but protect the muscle tissue at all costs. So you keep the structure, but you lose the unwanted bulk.
So this is way beyond just taking supplements. This is like hacking the body's entire communication network.
The text calls it regenerative medicine. You're actually manipulating the biological signaling to mimic a younger, more efficient body.
Which leads us right into how this is all applied, because the text splits its approach by gender. It's not a one-size-fits-all human being package. It's very specific. A women's vitality track and a men's vitality track.
And that makes total sense, right? Men and women age differently. Our hormonal cliffs are different, our physiology is different, and frankly, our societal pressures are different.
Let's look at the women's side first. The source says the goal is to feel powerful and confident, not just look younger. That feels like a very deliberate choice of words. It's not just about being pretty.
It is. It's about moving beyond just beauty. So for women, the Mirelle Institute combines that metabolic code assessment, the data gathering, with the NAD plus injections, and also something called Lopo Extreme MIC-B12 injections for energy and fat metabolism.
Okay.
But there was one detail in here that I found really interesting because it's almost never discussed in, standard beauty magazines.
Are you talking about the MCLA treatment?
Yes, that is.
I did look it up. It's a chair, right? For your pelvic floor.
It is. It's a high-intensity electromagnetic chair. You sit on it, fully closed, and it simulates thousands and thousands of Kegel exercises in a single session.
Okay, but why is this in an anti-aging package? Usually that's all about wrinkles and gray hair.
Because true anti-aging is about function. For so many women post-45, pelvic floor weakness is this silent confidence killer. It affects your ability to exercise. You can't run or jump without worrying. It affects intimate wellness.
Right.
Including MCLA in the protocol signals that this isn't just about how you look in a selfie. It's about how you move through the world. It's about core strength, bladder control, all of it.
It's functional youth, being able to run and jump and laugh without having that background anxiety.
Precisely. It connects vitality to sexual and physical wellness,
Yeah.
not just your facial aesthetics. I mean, if you look great, but you're afraid to go for a jog or sneeze too hard, you don't feel young.
Which is a perfect segue to the men's track, because the source says the goal for men is matching health and performance to ambition.
I love that phrasing. It addresses such a specific pain point for men in this age bracket. They often feel this disconnect. Their mind is still ambitious. They want to crush it at work. They want to be active, but the body is just dragging.
The brain fog, that afternoon crash, the libido changes.
And men are so often told, well, you're 50 now, just slow down. Buy a recliner. Dr. Ianculovici is basically saying, no, that fatigue isn't a requirement. It's a symptom.
So the men's vitality package attacks that. It uses the NAD plus for the brain fog, but then it includes something that, well, I had to double check the spelling, Botox treatment?
Yes, it is exactly what it sounds
Okay, wait, we have to unpack that one. Botox, I mean, we're all adults here, right? This is Botox, but not for your forehead.
It is Botox injections, yes, for erectile performance.
That is bold. How does that even work?
It's a relatively new application, but the science is based on the exact same principle as Botox in the face. What does Botox do?
It relaxes muscles.
It relaxes muscle. In this context, it relaxes the smooth muscle tone in that area, which improves blood flow. And better blood flow equals better performance.
It's certainly a conversation starter. But why include it in the main protocol?
Because it just reinforces the Institute's whole philosophy that we can't be shy about biology. Sexual health is health. If a man is suffering from performance anxiety or physiological decline, that affects his cortisol levels, his sleep, his confidence. It ages him. Treating it is part of the systemic approach.
It really drives home that point that you can't separate the aesthetic from the systemic. If the system is broken, whether that's your metabolism or your sexual health, the aesthetic is just a mask.
And that leads us to maybe the biggest strategic shift in this entire material. The move from treating anti-aging as a series of appointments to treating it as a system.
Right. The text argues aging does not happen in visits, it happens daily, which is such a good point. I can't go to the gym once a month and expect to be an athlete.
Exactly. And this is a direct critique of the standard med spa model. You know the drill.
Yeah.
You notice a wrinkle, you pick an appointment, you get frozen, and you leave.
And you don't come back for 6 months until the wrinkle shows up again.
It's totally reactive.
It's just whack-a-mole with wrinkles.
That's it, exactly. And the Mirelle Institute argues that that is the fundamental flaw. The most successful outcomes, they say, come from correct sequencing and long-term oversight.
Sequencing seems to be the secret sauce here. Can you break that down a little?
Sure. I mean, think about it logically. If you do a high-intensity laser treatment, which relies on your skin's own ability to heal itself, on skin that's inflamed and has no NAD plus energy, what happens?
The healing's going to be slow.
Slow or even poor. You might get complications. The result just won't be that great. But if you spend 2 months doing the metabolic reset and loading up on NAD plus first.
The skin is primed. It has the cash in the bank to pay for the repairs.
Exactly. The text describes a membership model with this app-based ecosystem that allows for continuous monitoring. It provides accountability.
Because your biology isn't static. What I needed last month might be totally different from what I need this month.
Right. If you're just a drop-in patient, there's no strategy. But if you're in a system, they can look at your data and say, hey, your inflammation markers are up this week. Let's skip the laser and do a peptide protocol instead. It transforms the doctor from just a service provider into a long-term partner.
So you're managing your health like a portfolio instead of a series of impulse buys.
That is the perfect way to put it. You're managing an asset, your body, over the long term.
So let's zoom out. We've covered mitochondria, caramelized collagen, peptide managers, and even some very targeted, localized injections. What does this all mean for us?
I think it really redefines the standard. True anti-aging after 45 requires looking beyond the surface. It demands that we stop ignoring all those invisible things. Mitochondrial health, inflammation, hormones.
It goes right back to that hook we started with. The difference between looking maintained and looking timeless. The maintained person is sort of fighting a war against their own biology. They're forcing the skin to be tight while the cells underneath are just screaming for help.
Whereas the timeless person has, it seems, fixed the biology first. They've provided the energy and the instructions for the body to repair itself from the inside out. One is camouflage, the other is restoration.
And honestly, it feels like a much more hopeful message. It suggests that feeling tired and foggy and old isn't a requirement of hitting 50. It's a sign of cellular dysfunction that can actually be addressed.
It puts the agency back in your hands. And the source leaves us with this final, very provocative thought. Aging is inevitable. How you age is not.
I love that. So for everyone listening, here's something to chew on as you go about your day. Take a look at your own routine. Is your current approach just painting over the cracks? Or are you actually reinforcing the foundation? Are you investing in camouflage or are you investing in your cells?
Yeah, that is the question.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll catch you next time.